lead editor David Burdett.
So, for some reason, the people at the HCS think that it's okay to play Halo during the Super Bowl. The worst part is knowing that it's probably going to be the grand finals going up against it. So, who's going to be watching Halo when they're going to be watching the Super Bowl? Probably not many.
The HCS and Rally was, I think it peaked around in the 100,000 people watching just on Twitch. I'm not even sure if it's going to crack 50,000 for Anaheim because the Super Bowl will be happening at the same time. I don't know if I can blame the event organizers because you gotta nab the venues and the dates that you can. I get it, but man, I'm sure they looked at those dates and were like, "Oh no, this is." Well, the thing is, you can watch replays.
Yep. Yeah. Or they looked and they were like, "Man, how is it so darn cheap this weekend?"
We got this like for nothing. Look those dates. Sir, no. Book the dates. Look at the price. You can't pass it, sir. Book it. Don't ask any questions. Book. But okay, sir. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh no, it's the Super Bowl. Editor Noah Ansaldua.
Destiny 2, the Witch Queen is looking better and better by the day. And it feels like every few hours they're releasing new information about it. I'm pumped. Void 3.0 looks amazing. And if it's the future for subclasses in the game, I'm excited and I'm here for it.
Them pre-orders, though.
Oh, yeah. Over 1 million. People are excited every time. First, the Taken King was like, oh, okay, yeah. Then it was Forsaken. It was like, ooh. Now the Witch Queen. Oh. So good for Bungie. I'm happy for them. I'm hoping it turns out to be great. You and I were talking after last week's podcast, Noah, and
like an hour.
Yeah, and we could have just had a little mini Destiny podcast there, but you got me a little bit more excited for the Witch Queen. You did that.
Let's go.
My name is
Bungie
Anthony Shelton. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said Bungie hire me. That's it.
This man. My name is Anthony Shelton, YouTube content creator, and so I edited last week's podcast, and then I never uploaded it until Wednesday because I wanted to save our conversation because Noah was talking about Sifu, which was under embargo at the time we recorded, so I didn't want to release it beforehand and break the embargo. The problem was I started playing Sifu and totally got enraptured by it and totally forgot to upload the podcast because I was playing it and enjoying it so much. So
yep.
Last week's podcast is up, but I just forgot. Whoops. Sifu's great, by the way. Let's move into our icebreaker. So, Super Bowl is happening this weekend, so is HCS Anaheim for Halo. But, more importantly, we got to know, what is your favorite Super Bowl snack? You go to your friend's house, you're having it at your house. What is that thing you are going to have during the Super Bowl? David?
Well, I've not been to a lot of Super Bowl parties myself. So I'm going to go with a bit of a gaming snack because it's just so handy. It's something that people don't think about. I like to get a good bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios.
Wow.
Because, and here's the reason. Here's the reason. No milk, no nothing. The reason being, it's a good gaming snack is because it doesn't get your fingers all nasty. There's nothing to, like, when you're gripping a controller that's going to mess it up. And I wouldn't mind having some of that during the Super Bowl either.
Okay, so as a kid, I used to eat Honey Nut Cheerios by themselves. So I'm not surprised at the idea of eating Honey Nut Cheerios by themselves. But the fact that they're not messy, I don't know if I 100% agree with that because my fingers be getting sticky after a while. and I don't want to touch other stuff because that honey, it sticks to you, and it ain't real honey. So
it's probably because I buy the off-brand.
Oh,
not as sticky.
What's the off-brand called?
I have no. You know how it goes. It's more or less everything except for the word Cheerio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honey nut something. Who knows?
Honey peanut-O's.
Yeah.
Noah, what is your favorite Super Bowl snack?
Well, I have been to Super Bowl parties in my time. And I think if I'm hosting or if I'm going somewhere, there better be hot wings. And if there's not hot wings, I will riot because I could eat hot wings every day. So it's not just a Super Bowl snack, but I love Wingstop wings for sure, especially because the ranch kind of carries. But any kind of wings, I'm there.
Okay, but are you the one bringing the wings or are you just eating them?
If there are not going to be wings there, I will bring them. I will make sure there are wings there.
Okay.
Essentially, Anthony, anytime we invite Noah anywhere, we don't have hot wings so that he has to bring them.
That's a good point. Do you make good hot wings?
So, okay.
Are your hot wings fire, as the children say?
I haven't had the opportunity to make some fire, like homemade hot wings. I want to. It's like a dream of mine. I was gonna do it. I was gonna do it this past weekend. I was gonna fulfill that dream. But I do get like 4-pound bags of boneless chicken bites from Sam's, and then toss them in sauce, like as a snack. Like just generally, that's what I do.
So you you buy the pre-made, and then kind
toss them in whatever sauce I want. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noah Anzaldua, Apex Legends champion and Master Chef winner. Master Chef, Master Chef, same thing.
Yeah, basically. My favorite Super Bowl snack are buffalo wings. I will always go for it. It doesn't have to be hot wings, but buffalo wings. I'm a sucker for anything with buffalo sauce, specifically Frank's Red Hot. I like that. And I make my own, actually. And they are pretty good, to be honest.
Okay.
Props.
They are pretty good. So, I know, Noah, you were in my area at one point. If you end up here again and you're here for a bit, I think I might be able to whip you up some buffalo wings. It's not hot wings, but some buffalo wings. You bring the hot wings. I got the buffalo wings. David's got the Honey Nut Cheerios.
There you go.
To top it all off. There we go. That's how we got to do this. God, that would be a weird Super Bowl party. Can you imagine? Yo, what you got? I got hot wings. Great, I got buffalo wings. David, what you got? Honey Nut Cheerios.
And then 2 TVs on the wall. 2 TVs, 1 Super Bowl, 1 Halo Championship tournament.
Yes.
For real. All right, let's move on to our trending news segment. So, oh my gosh, we finally are getting some news, some bona fide, I believe, real details about what is happening with Microsoft and Activision, Blizzard, and the acquisition. The biggest question we've all been wondering is what is going to happen to Activision Blizzard games? Are they going to remain exclusive or not remain exclusive, become exclusive, or are they going to remain multi-platform? Obviously, everybody's asking about Call of Duty. And Microsoft sounded pretty like, yes, it will be multi-platform. That's what's going to happen with Call of Duty. But yet people are still not believing it. People are still suggesting, nah, like this ain't it. And I'm of the mind that, no, I was skeptical when they first talked about it. And I think there was at least room to believe that. Now I don't think so. Because, let's read the statement. To be clear. Usually when you start with that sentence, you got to be clear.
Yep.
Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision. That is the first sentence. All right. there's room to believe in that sentence that it may not necessarily stay multi-platform forever. But that was a period. We move on to the next sentence. And we have committed to Sony that we will also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement and into the future, so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. That sounds pretty clear to me that Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard properties will remain multi-platform. What do you guys think, David?
Well, this is about as clear on multi-platform as it was clear that Starfield was an exclusive when they said it.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear. I think it's hilarious that you go into comment sections and people are still saying they're just saying that means the current titles aren't going to be pulled. No. Read into it what you want, but at this point it feels more like grasping at straws. I think the most interesting thing, a lot of us did think, it is Call of Duty. There's a good chance this could stay multi-platform. If there was ever a game that we could see staying multi-platform, being more like the Minecraft kind of idea, it was Call of Duty. It's just so big that it's better to be able to integrate. It's a live service game. It's better the more players you have, the more places you have players. So it doesn't hurt Microsoft in the long term at all, especially thinking about the thought of if they go away from yearly releases, you're counting on the actual microtransactions and all these kind of things as your residual income. You want it more places to make that money. Skyrim, something like Skyrim, Starfield, you could put that one place. That encourages people to come over there and play it there because the game is what's making you money, not the residuals from the game. What I think is even more interesting is that they added on the other popular Activision Blizzard games. I figured Call of Duty was a good chance. We know Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 have had platforms confirmed for them, so those were most likely existing agreements already. But the thought that future Overwatch, I could see at least future Overwatch, future Diablo titles ending up on multiple platforms. Why? Because once again, it's that residual income, the live service idea. I mean, people are even talking about Sony's live service as a possibility that we may see these hit multiple platforms. Live service is a different beast. People forget about that because it's about getting more players so that you can sell them more stuff. You can't do that when you limit your platforms. Yes, it is. Xbox does have plenty of platforms. Yes, it's on PC. But I mean, they're even talking right now about possibly bringing Call of Duty to the Switch. Because they even include Nintendo in this announcement. So that's really the interesting thing, is how far are they going to go with Activision Blizzard? My internal, my brain thinks there's no way that Crash or Spyro are anything but exclusive. It's honestly, in my opinion, it's a 50-50 shot at this point, because they've already proved that popular titles could go anywhere. I think that Xbox should personally make them exclusive. But we could see Crash and Spyro still hitting other platforms. Just very interesting how things have gone into, mainly just the philosophy of games being stuck to a system is changing a little bit. Admittedly, these are very extreme circumstances. These are franchises that have been around for a long time, but it is changing how companies are viewing things. I mean, who'd ever thought Sony would buy Bungie? Well, number one, buy Bungie in general. But number two, leave them completely multi-platform. That's just insane. Sorry, I went on for a while.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think comparing this to the Bethesda acquisition, they bought it for like $7 billion. So it's already a less, money heavy purchase.
10%.
Yeah. And, these are all single player games. They've proven that most of their games, like from Bethesda, run better on Xbox anyways. And I think you can make the argument that, yeah, these games could be console sellers for those that are really hardcore into Bethesda sort of games, or even any other company owned by ZeniMax, it or Tango, any of those. So there's that, but also I feel like the big thing for this is the multi-platform live service games, and also I feel like it's really important to look at Game Pass and see that Game Pass is gonna make Xbox the best place to play these games because you don't have to outright pay for them, and also while we have Game Pass and maybe less people buying actual games on Xbox platforms, we still get to take, or as Microsoft, we still get to take some of that money from PlayStation sales now. So it's like we're making up for the sales that we missed on Xbox, and we're going to get that money back on the PlayStation platform, which is just
double dipping.
Really nice. Yeah, exactly. Because now you don't have to worry about, oh man, what if our sales lack because of Game Pass, because it's just such a good deal. Well, here you go. You get to pad your wallet with PlayStation money, and also if you expanded Nintendo for some of the less taxing experiences, or with the cloud technology games, then you get that as well. So it really does seem like the best way to reach the most players, which is a big thing Microsoft's pushed, to have the cross progression and cross play all sort of tied in as much as possible. And they're really big into keeping players together. So that that fits with Activision Blizzard games that we think of, Overwatch and Diablo and Call of Duty. Yeah, we want to make sure people play together, but when it comes to single player games, well, they don't really have to play together. They can play by themselves. And so if that's their strategy going forward, if that's a sort of template for Bethesda and studios like that make single player games are going to be only on our platform, that makes sense going forward. We'll see if they keep that strategy, or if they start, maybe they decide to expand Bethesda games later on down the line back to multi-platform releases. We'll see. But I think they really can do whatever they want in this case, But it's interesting to see them go down this going down this pathway. I think that this is what I thought from the beginning. These games are really huge, and not leaving them on PlayStation would result in a lot of backlash, first of all, but also that revenue stream, that possible revenue stream where you double dip, being just taken away, and you're Microsoft, you're gonna want that money, especially when it's a $70 billion acquisition. Yeah, it's pretty much all I have to say.
I feel like the nature of how we view exclusives has to change, because the way Microsoft and Sony now are using exclusives and using third party is changing as well. And we're not, or at least there's some people who are still stuck in the idea that, no, if you spend $70 billion to get a developer and publisher to, and get all their properties, why in the world would you make them third party? And the reason why is the reason why you would is because all of it's changing. This whole thing is changing. Game Pass, yep. Microsoft doesn't even care about their consoles as much, not to say that they don't care, but selling consoles for them is not their primary point. And they've stopped giving console numbers. The Series X is selling well, and they still haven't given us console numbers because they don't want us to care about that. They want us to care about the Game Pass numbers. That's what matters to them. And so you have this situation where exclusives are important to Sony, I think, to sell the PlayStation 5, because they still want to sell consoles, because that's still part of their business model. But now you look at what they're doing with Bungie, like you mentioned, David, they're leaving it multi-platform, and their other live service games are also going to be likely multi-platform. Well, why would you do that if you want more people playing on PlayStation? Because that's not the point anymore. Yep. Exclusives don't hold the same weight as they once did. And so we have to change the way we view these business decisions and the way we evaluate these decisions, because this is the next leap in how video game business is done with the I guess the advent of DLC and microtransactions. Like, that was the first major shift in how we consume video games and how publishers and developers make money. Now we have moved into live services. We've moved, I guess, an increase of a version of microtransactions, but now we're moving into content services with Game Pass, and now Sony might be making their own version of Game Pass. Nintendo's got their own kind of version of a Game Pass. It's not great, but it's a weird version, but they have one. And so this whole business is changing. And so we can't evaluate it the same way. We can't look at exclusives the same way. We can't look at business decisions like these the same way because they're not even looking at these moves the same way. They are thinking something very different than Microsoft when Xbox first became a thing. When Nintendo and Sony were duking it out, trying to have the best games on their platform to sell the consoles. It's not about that as much. It's more about it with Sony and Nintendo, far less about Microsoft. But even those two companies are shifting the way they're doing things. No thoughts. All right.
Hey, I think you're right. We can't evaluate it. We can't evaluate it the same way anymore. It's a different business today. And the craziest thing is the dramatic shift. That's probably the biggest thing because this only has just come about since the advent of PlayStation 4, Xbox One, those consoles really. So this is recent development, last 10 years, because when live service started, suddenly it became, okay, crossplay. Okay, now we got these big communities playing together. So when you make a live service game, the first thing you got to think of is, do I really want to only have one section of a community to be able to play this? If this is going to be successful, I need a bigger base. If Call of Duty is going to be successful, walling off arguably a quarter of the market is probably not in my best interest. If I want Destiny to continue to be one of the biggest games on the planet, walling off a entire, every other, half of the business honestly, with PC, Xbox, isn't in my best interest. If I want to continue to make this bigger, I've got to be everywhere.
Even something like Overwatch 2, I don't think there will ever be an Overwatch 3. I think what they're doing is building Overwatch 2 in the same way Bungie built Destiny 2. They're building it for the long run, not for necessarily a third one. And so you got something like Overwatch 2 already set to be multi-platform. It's probably always going to remain multi-platform because there's not going to be another one. Overwatch was one of the, I guess, best versions of a live service game that you had to pay $60 for. And it was, you had events all the time. It was one of those games, you paid for the game. Everything else after that was free, except for if you wanted to pay with the loot box stuff. We could, that's its own argument, but that was an optional thing. You didn't have to pay for anything else. And so with Overwatch 2, I imagine that they're building this game more so in the sense of Overwatch, you buy it, everything else will be free, but they're going to have a model that fits more in live service and have things that are more update more often, basically, so it doesn't get as boring. Imagine if that became exclusive. It's just not going to work. Everything that they've been building up until this time, now you change all of that because Microsoft bought you. Ooh, that's a lot to change. So that game's probably going to stay multi-platform forever, and Microsoft is going to benefit from it, and everybody else who likes Overwatch will benefit from it. Shoot, we might see Overwatch 2 on the Switch day and date. Who knows?
That's the biggest thing is all of this that we're hearing is so win-win. Because if I have an Xbox, I get Call of Duty day one on Game Pass.
Yeah.
If PlayStation gets Call of Duty still, it doesn't hurt me because I have a bigger community to be able to engage with. And my company's still getting money from income from selling it. There's not a loser in this besides console warriors who for some reason can still get the game on Game Pass day one for no additional charge, but they're still mad because somebody else can play it.
Yeah. That's one thing I wanted to talk about too. Unless like
I'm chill with exclusives. It's just it doesn't hurt to not be exclusive.
Yeah. Going back to like console sales, Xbox is definitely, it's not their priority. But if you're making Xbox the best place to play these ABK games that are now available everywhere, that's going to sell these consoles just passively, you know? It's going to sell your Xbox Series S's to everyone, even more so than now how it already is. And that's like I think that's a big reason of why they even have a Series S, because they've had these plans in the works where they know that people are going to want an entry point into their platform, into their ecosystem. And that gives them the perfect entry point so that they can play these new games that Xbox has access to in the best way, in the most cost-effective way, and just kind of play them as they come or as they want to subscribe, and then hop out and then hop back in whenever they want.
Yep.
Can you imagine if World of Warcraft was only available through Xbox? like these games are going, it is entirely possible that these games will mostly remain multi-platform. Will there be exclusives? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know which ones will be exclusive, but there will be some exclusives. Activision, Blizzard, they make good games, and good games deserve to be exclusive to a platform if you're trying to build that platform. Exclusives still have use, but it's changing. That use is changing. It's not all about the console anymore. The idea of the exclusive remains the same. You want something on your platform, so people come to it. It's what HBO Max does, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. It's what they all do. They all have their own content, so you come to their platform. This is what exclusives are being used for now. It's what people talk about. It's not the console war anymore. It's the content war now. Yep. But so far, Microsoft is the only one who's doing that sort of thing. Nintendo, I guess, has a version of it that's not great. And it sounds like Sony might be building something out. So we'll see how this goes. But I think it is pretty clear Call of Duty will be multi-platform, just like Minecraft.
Yep.
It ain't going anywhere. Now, we did have a Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday. And Noah's already like, It was Well, there were some big games. I'm just going to list the big games that were shown during the event. We had Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which that was interesting. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. We saw some more information on that. No Man's Sky is coming to the Switch, which is cool. Mario Strikers Battle League. So new Mario Strikers is coming. More on Splatoon 3. They talked about the Salmon Run, which is the single player mode from Splatoon 2. He's raising his hand.
I was just gonna say on that one, like, does any game trailer as badly as Splatoon does?
We'll get to that. Chrono Cross the Radical Dreamers Edition, Portal Companion Collection, Nintendo Switch Sports, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 48 new tracks coming over the course of 2 years, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So there were some interesting ones. There were some like, but overall, I don't know what people are expecting from these Nintendo Directs. I always get, my timeline is full of like differences. It's always split. You got some really excited people, and then you got some people who are like, meh, like Noah. And I'm like, these Nintendo Directs are meant to be announcements of what's to come. Sometimes it's supposed to be, here's some new information that we haven't given to you. But I feel like everybody's always expecting just full of hype. And people, have we not learned our lessons from generating hype? Have we not learned our lessons yet from trying to build up all this hype all the time? You will always be disappointed every single time. Nothing is as ever great, or I will say ever, but nothing is rarely is anything as good as the hype makes it out to be. So you want these Nintendo Directs to build all this hype and stuff, and then you're let down because you are misappropriating the Nintendo Direct. It is not meant to hype you up. It is meant to give information in an entertaining way. It's funny to see executives try to be a little goofy, but you understand my point. But yet all these people are always trying to look for hype. And I always laugh at people because I'm like, yo, like this, what do you expect? Like, oh, it's Nintendo Direct. Oh, I was disappointed. Of course it was. Like, it always is because it's not meant to be the next big thing. It's nice when it does have the next big thing, but it's not meant to be doing that. David, what was your reaction to the Nintendo Direct?
Well, I'm not as big of a Nintendo guy as everybody else, but I thought it was a really strong showing, personally. Like, I know a lot of people who are really excited or who are hoping for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I know personally, I'm super excited for Mario Strikers. Can't wait to play Kirby. Can't wait to play Splatoon 3.
I think I forgot to mention Kirby. Yeah. There
was some really good stuff in that Nintendo Direct. So the biggest thing is this is okay. What are we getting in the next 6 months or so? They gave you a lot of good stuff that's coming in the next. There's not many teams. It feels like sometimes that can compete with Nintendo because they just pump out the stuff. Like there's always feels like there's some good stuff coming.
Actually, that's not even true about Nintendo. Nintendo be going through droughts, some bad droughts. This is probably their best year in terms of they got stuff going all the way to September. We haven't seen that in a long time from Nintendo.
I remember the first 2 years of Switch at least were really good, which I'm sure the pandemic obviously didn't help with some of the development because we probably would have seen some of these titles earlier. From what I remember reading, Nintendo was one of the ones hit the hardest from having to go to set up the whole remote from home setup. They did not deal with it very well. But people be eating good after this Direct if you're a Nintendo fan. So, like, I'm really excited for people who love the system. Like I said, there's a couple for me. I'm that guy who, if you looked at my Switch, my Nintendo thing from last year, it was really sad because I think I played 3 games for a total of an hour on my Switch last year. So it's really sad. But this year ought to get better. What?
They said the
yearly roundup. Yeah. So, but this year's probably going to get better because Mario Strikers is coming out. I've been waiting for that for a long time. I know I'm kind of standing that game, and not everybody's as into that game as I used to be.
I'm looking forward to it.
But I loved it on the GameCube, man. Strikers is awesome. So, like, I think you said it the best. It's all about going in and what your expectations are. Because as soon as people were saying, oh, we're going to get Breath of the Wild 2 information, I'm like, no, we're not. You know we're not. Breath of the Wild 2 is probably going to slip into 2023 the way they talked about it, 6 months ago?
That and Breath of the Wild 2 is going to get its own Direct.
Yeah. So, it's just, like you said, it's expectations. If you go in, I'm not saying go in with the low expectation. Go in expecting to be disappointed, so that when you are, you're not.
Maybe no one does.
You can still go in and be like, hey, I'm looking forward to some good stuff being in this, because half the time we've got an idea. We knew Kirby was probably going to be there. We had a good idea that Splatoon would probably make an appearance. So there was already some good stuff there, but just don't go in expecting like, oh my gosh, they're going to show off the Mario Odyssey 2 sequel. They're going to show off Mario Odyssey 2. No. Get your head out of the clouds. Read some stuff on the internet. Get your timeline set. And then hopefully maybe Nintendo will eventually start setting some more expectations, because one thing that PlayStation has done better than... Their state of plays may not be as good, but at least I go into them knowing exactly what I should expect. Because Sony sets very specific expectations of, hey, this state of play is going to have this. Do not ask. Sony will literally say, do not ask us about these titles, because they will not be there. More teams, Xbox and Nintendo both, need to make sure they're doing that, because we all know what happened during that poor Xbox Series gameplay showcase.
Yeah, that was rough.
The fact that poor Greenberg had to come out and be like, "We're really sorry about saying something," and then it not being what we said it was going to be. Set expectation. Companies need to set expectations, but so do the fans. Fans got to set their expectations better.
Well, the thing is, Nintendo Directs tend to. Nintendo doesn't set expectations for their Directs most of the time because I assume they believe the fans know what should be in a Nintendo, like what is a Nintendo Direct by now.
And they're counting on the fan frenzy too, because there are very few fan bases as devoted as Nintendo fans. Like
Noah, you were much more down on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it comes from I see people on Twitter and they're just like going crazy for it. They're like screaming from the stands. Like I saw one and it was just like a list of some of the games that were released or were talked about, and it was like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, all the games you just listed, Portal Collection, and I was like, and then at the end it said 10 out of 10 Direct, and I was like, was that a 10 out of 10 Direct, or was the 10 out of 10 Direct when they announced Breath of the Wild and Eiji Onuma comes up and he just talks about it? Like, that was a 10 out of 10 Direct for me. This to me was like a solid 5.5, I guess.
5.5 out of 5?
Maybe a 6, but it's like, okay, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, sure, if you like games with bad voice acting, or you can play the Japanese version, sure.
David Flynn, do not watch this Part-Timers podcast. Whatever
that
you do.
Bad voice acting. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That is bad voice acting. That's
Thank God they hide the numbers on the dislike now on YouTube.
If you like games with 50 hours of exposition and tutorial before you get into it, then sure, that's it. But I understand that people like that game and it's good. It's just not for me.
Can we talk about the things that have been wrong with story in Destiny?
I acknowledge that. I acknowledge Bungie's flaws. I love them for who they are, not for who I want them to be.
Okay. I'm just making sure you're throwing shots out there.
I think I'm going to throw some more. I think the salt comes from, for me, it's the very beginning. You're going to start out with Fire Emblem, 3 houses, and it's not an actual Fire Emblem game. It's a Warriors game.
That's why you start with it. Get it out the way.
Get it out the way, or just throw it up like innocuously in a trailer that you release on a random Tuesday, like without any fanfare. That would be great. But a Warriors game, to me, is the most mediocre game that you can really release as Nintendo. You have so much more talent. I want to see you do better, and I don't want to like Warriors games run really, really poorly on the Switch, and it's so sad because it's like you're making so many of these games. You're making Persona 5 Strikers. You're making this one. You're making Hyrule Warriors 2. Just like optimize these games if you're gonna like pump them out at such a fast rate. They're just not fun for me. Just really like shallow combat, really shallow experience. And you're gonna throw all these characters out from the 3 houses world, and I just don't think you're gonna do them justice because they deserve time to like really percolate with you. That's probably not the right word, but that kind of tilted me to begin with. And then I want to talk about Chrono Cross and where our disconnect is.
Oh no.
I want to know where that disconnect is. Because I saw that trailer and I was like, I would rather just go emulate the PlayStation.
Where's the mute button?
No.
I'm just messing with you.
I want to. So what are you looking forward to in this remaster? What they're bringing to the table?
What do you want from a remaster, Noah?
I want a Resident Evil 1.
Final Fantasy 7?
I want no. I don't want that. No. I want a Resident Evil 1 remake. Okay, Resident Evil 1 remake doesn't change the game, but it does make the game look significantly better and improves on things that could be improved upon. I don't think this game improves upon anything looking at it.
You haven't played it yet.
Well, yeah, but they're showing us footage of it.
I know, but you're okay.
I'm just saying, looking at
so it doesn't look like it improves on anything.
Yeah, looking at that trailer, like the text boxes. Okay, for starters, there's one
text
shot.
Boxes bother you? Come on, Noah. If you go and bring the fire.
This is Puddlegate all over again.
No. This is real. This is real because Final Fantasy did this with like the mobile ports, and then they brought them to Steam, and they didn't even change the font, and it looks awful. And I think like Ron's talked about this before in like the Discord, but this is the thing that gets on my nerves, especially when it's a game that's like highly text based. Like, shouldn't that be sort of a focus if you're?
Well, all you said was text boxes, so I cut you off though. But go. I do understand what you're saying.
The font in the text boxes looks awful. It looks like sort of I opened up a Word document. I didn't bother to change it to something interesting. I just left it on Calibri. And then the other thing is that these portraits that they've added are not well implemented. They look like I badly photoshopped them in post. And like you can tell where the square cuts off and like where the text box, like the original text box begins. And it's just like, man, remaster it like well if you're going to remaster it. Otherwise, just like port it. Just do a simple port because I don't think you're doing the game justice. Like, I don't want to go into this game and play it as a new player. I think it's great for like nostalgic people and people who want to play it in bed and like have the Switch factor and like take it out on the go, which is great. But I can do that on my phone with a PS1 emulator and still probably have a great experience. And also, the 2 points that they bring up, like as like improvements to the original game, are in it like a re-recorded score, which I'm looking at gameplay of the original, and the score is probably the only thing that like stands the test of time in terms of like the graphical fidelity and all the other things that stand the test of time. That score is like still really great, and it doesn't really necessitate a re-recording unless you're really remastering it. But you're not remastering in the way that does that new score justice, I don't think. I don't know. I'm talking a lot about Chrono Cross, which was like a 30-second thing in the direct, but whatever. Yeah, it just Super Kirby Odyssey. That was a thing. I don't know if that's anything.
Super Kirby Odyssey.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good.
I would say it's more like Mario 3D World Kirby.
Just because the cappy aspect of like controlling anything and like becoming anything. Yeah.
That originated with Kirby, though. Don't disrespect Kirby.
Yeah, but like the real world objects was the thing they.
Yes, that was from Odyssey. Yes. Okay.
Hey, I can become Kirby VLC player. Don't talk to me.
There was so much disrespect and blasphemy in that rant.
There was.
I don't even know where to begin.
Digitally slap him, Anthony. Do it.
If I had a sound effect. Oh my God. Okay, so let's start with Chrono Cross. Okay, this segment is taking a little longer but whatever. There's too much blasphemy happening. Okay. Number one, I have never played Chrono Cross. Okay. Didn't have a Super Nintendo. I went from Nintendo to Nintendo 64. Okay. It's not my fault my family didn't have a bunch of money, but when we did, I got a Nintendo 64. Okay. So I haven't played Chrono Cross, and I was not big on emulation, so I haven't played it. So I want to play this. I don't expect a total remaster out of this game. I don't expect it to look incredibly so ridiculously more beautiful than the original. The text boxes in the original game were not crazy ridiculous. So I don't really expect the text boxes and the profile photos to look absolutely stunning and hyper modern. I just don't expect that. Not because my expectations are low or that I have low standards. In fact, I have very high standards. But it's a remaster. It's not a remake of Chrono. If it was a remake, okay. Now we're leaning into that, okay, Final Fantasy VII remake type of thing. Like, it needs to feel a little bit more original. But it's a remaster. And not only is it a remaster, it's a remaster above what the original graphics and presentation were of the original Chrono Cross. I can accept that. I can accept a little Super Nintendo-y feel to it. That feels natural for a remaster, as someone who has not played Chrono Cross.
I completely agree with you. At this point, I mean, we're still seeing eye to eye. I
don't think we are.
No, I think that what they're doing here is not that. Like I don't expect like beauty here. I expect bare minimum. Let's respect the original, and I feel like
I don't see the disrespect. Like, I've seen Chrono Cross in action. I haven't played it. I don't see the disrespect.
I just think
popcorn.
The text box. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the text from
these text boxes one more time.
The original release. The font kind of benefits from that pixelated like PlayStation era graphics, and now it just looks like I don't know. It just looks like they just put it on there, and they just didn't do anything to make it look like it fits in the world. But just in the original, it kind of just fits in there because it's nice and pixelated. It goes with the characters. But when we have these pixelated characters and this world that's like, very low res, why does the font look like it's from a Notepad app or not a Notepad, like a Word document? If it was from Notepad, maybe it looked better. But it looks like it's from a Word document where the kerning is just like perfect, and it doesn't look great in terms of like presentation.
I'm looking at it right now. I do not see what you see. Not see what you see. It looks like it would come from Super Nintendo. Like, it's not super high res, which you would expect from something that came from Super Nintendo, and neither are the graphics feel like they're super high res. So I feel like it fits. The kerning, the spacing, all that stuff looks fine to me. I guess one critique I would have is the background in the box looks a little extra blurry. That could use a little up res, but other than that, looks fine.
Yeah, it's just the character that text brings is not the same as the original. Like, I just sent it in chat. I don't know if I'm the only one that sees that, but the original just looks a little bit better. Looks like a little more cozy even. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm more in that world just reading it from the top than the one in the new one. I don't know.
We need a third party to step in here, David.
Noah's about to start a font cast.
Seriously, I forgot all the font sayings. I took a typography class in college, and I forgot about the word kerning. My God. Jeez. Now you're making me want to remember all the extra things if you want to get into the weeds about this stuff. Anyway, I will say, I've heard the criticisms of the Nintendo Direct saying it's a lot of stuff we've played. Yeah. And I need to remind people, and I think you also did have that criticism, Noah. We have to remind people, those who do not spend time playing their Nintendo consoles or even own one, that many, many, many Nintendo Switch owners either do not have another console or have not played these games. Because Nintendo fans are diehard Nintendo fans. They love their Nintendo. And so when you look at something like the Portal compilation, guarantee you most of that player base has not played Portal.
Guaranteed, and it's perfect for that system too.
Perfect. I forget what... Oh, No Man's Sky. Same thing. You could play that on PC, you could play that on PlayStation, you could play it on Xbox. Guarantee you, most of them have not played No Man's Sky. They've seen it, they have desired to play it, but all they're thinking is, man, I wish it would come to Nintendo, because that is their platform of choice. And many of them do not have a second platform. So these kind of decisions, these games where it's like, oh, I've already played this, these are strategic moves by Nintendo by taking games that are popular among all the platforms and knowing their audience, they haven't played these games. We can get these and they can work on our console. So as old as Portal is, and as, and No Man's Sky is not an incredibly old game. Those are very valuable for the Nintendo player base. So we got to keep that in mind when we see these kind of things. This is very exciting for Nintendo fans, not for people like you and I who have played these games on other platforms, but these guys are thirsty for this kind of stuff.
I'll be honest, I know plenty of people who've probably had Portal on Xbox and PlayStation and PC, all this stuff. They'll go out and buy it again.
Just for the portability.
just for the portability. Just the fact I can take this with me everywhere. And it's one of those games you can just keep playing over and over and over and keep having fun with. So that's another thing is like finding games that work on the Switch that people just will keep playing. Not every game is going to hit that, but like if you get it at the right time, it's even more perfect. Like Dragon's Dogma. I mean, a lot of these games that we're seeing hit the Switch like this are games that have been gone for a generation. So they're away from PlayStation. They're from PS3, Xbox 360. For PlayStation owners, you literally can't play those games on your PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. So being able to rebuy them on the Switch is pretty great.
And as far as Splatoon 3, we'll just bring this up real quick. I liked Splatoon 2. I liked the Salmon Run. The Salmon Run did not look interesting in Splatoon 3.
I think it's going to be tons of fun, but gosh, they don't trailer well. None of the Splatoons have looked great in trailers. I don't get it. Like, somebody in that marketing team does not know what they're doing.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the third person kind of paint perspective, because you kind of got to show that in order to show what the game is. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, because you can't really get those like really cool like first person close up angles, and it's not a game where you would want to highlight like killing. So I think there is a
man. It looks boring.
Yeah, it
I hate it.
Not, yeah, but if you play it, Salmon Run is a lot of fun. It's one of the best. Yeah. I'm so glad they're bringing it back and expanding on it. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, this does not look that interesting. But I am still, I've played it, so I know it's going to be good. Okay.
I've got one more thing. So people don't hate me as a Nintendo. Like if you're a Nintendo fan, and you're like,
there's no turning back. You just got to accept it.
They can eat me up in the quote retweets, whatever. But I will say, Triangle Strategy is a saving grace of that direct. And I downloaded the 3-chapter demo last night, and I played through like the first combat encounter, and that strategy is pretty great so far, and I'm like excited to see how that goes. And Triangle Strategy might have me sold, and it might keep me tied over until the next Fire Emblem for sure. So that was good.
Triangle
Although
Strategy
it has the dumbest name in the history of Square names.
It is.
No, not in the history.
Feels like it.
We still have a lot of Kingdom Hearts games that will.
Oh, true.
It may be weird, but they're not as dumb as just straight up Triangle Strategy.
Kingdom Hearts 358 days over 2 or so, or whatever that one is.
Triangle Strategy is an odd name. It is an odd name, but I feel like it at least alludes to something within the game that, Triangle Strategy makes sense. I don't know what Kingdom Hearts, 358 over 2 days means or Birth by Sleep. Like, what the frick is that? So.
Yeah, but Triangle Strategy sounds like a project name where somebody was too lazy. They were like, oh, crap, we'd have to change the marketing if we updated the name to something better.
Maybe. Maybe. All right, let's get into our apples to apples segments. Here's the score so far. David has 3 points, Noah has 2 points, and I have 1 point. All right, so we know the game is not rigged. I, as the host, do not have the most points, okay? So it is not rigged. So, as we usually do for our apples to apples, we'll each name a game that we have played, and we will choose 3 words to give to the leader, and the leader will choose one of our words, and we will gain a point. You can also play along as well in the comments and keep your own score. David, actually, let's start with Noah. We started with David with a lot of things. Noah, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Fire Emblem Three Houses. My girlfriend.
After all that crap you talked about, Fire Emblem Warriors, some of it.
I love Fire Emblem. I love Fire Emblem. I just wish that they made a Fire Emblem game and not a Warriors game. Yeah. So my girlfriend she owns my Switch now, but she is visiting, so I got to play Three Houses a little bit.
Sweet.
And yeah.
Good job, girlfriend. All right. My 3 words for you are marry me, not me literally, but that's the theme of a game. All Out War and Professor Noah. David, what are your 3 words?
Mine are drama, waifus, and strategic schooling.
Why is it every Japanese RPG you bring up waifus? It is
because it makes sense.
Every single time.
It makes sense.
And for those who are listening or watching, when I say every single time, we've done a lot of pre-test podcast episodes, and every time we have brought up a JRPG, waifus. It doesn't matter what it is, waifus.
It's funny.
It's the low-hanging fruit, and it's what wins this.
I'm short, so it's all I can reach.
I'm gonna go with waifus.
I see, it was
Done
worth
with
it.
you. Done with you.
It's 3 houses, and like there are some really good waifus in 3 houses. Like I have my favorites, my girlfriend has her favorites, like my friends have their favorites, and there's just so much to choose from in terms of like good characters that have like really depressing, tragic backstories that you get to like see these connections grow. And it's not even always just about like your characters and their connection. Sometimes it's about like the connections that grow between the students and how you find that they're good for each other, or like, oh, these are awful together. And I love that. I love like the support system in this game. And Bernadetta is like my favorite because she's like a really shy and timid, and she like hates being around people. And then you like realize why that is, and you just feel so bad for her. But also, she's pretty strong, and like she comes out of her shell, and it's really good. It's really good stuff.
Honestly, the way you explain it, I haven't been able to play 3 Houses yet, but the way you explain it sounds like Fire Emblem 3 Houses could be a reality TV show with like all the scandal, all the drama.
It is like 100%. That's what it is.
All that. Yeah. All right. My game that I've been playing is Rainbow Six Extraction. David, what are your 3 words?
Mine are zombie, not zombie, tactical, and co-op required.
Okay.
Mine are Tom Clancy, the father of sci-fi, meh, and just fine.
All right. I'm gonna go with meh. I'm gonna go with meh. Because that kind of feels in some ways a little less than meh.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've played Rainbow Six Siege. And I don't remember it looking so pristine. Like, I don't remember just the walls being perfect and the ground being perfect. The wood that you put up is everything is just so perfect. And I bring that up because Rainbow Six Extraction is about some aliens that invade New York City and like tear the whole place up. And then you got to go into these quarantine zones that the people set up. They're called React. React sets it up. And in these zones, I mean, it is clean. Even the alien goop, it's like, it's almost like a sparkly, like just perfectly matted, like brother just got like the nice haircut type of thing. Like it's just, everything's just so perfect. And I'm like,
it's too perfect.
The uniforms on the React people are just so clean. And I'm like, what? This just, it doesn't feel right. Like it just doesn't set the right vibe. Okay, what about the gameplay? That's meh too. Like it's serviceable. You shoot stuff, it blows up. Some aliens, a little scream and all this stuff. It's just not interesting. And I thought it was going to be way more interesting than that. Is it tough? Yes. It's more fun to play with other people, but it's not that interesting to be in the place and shoot stuff. Like it feels like shooting target dummies at times. Not to say that there's no difficulty involved, but the reactions of the aliens, the way the guns, it just doesn't feel good with a game that came from Rainbow Six Siege, which I just don't remember being so like perfect and like, uninteresting at all. I love Rainbow Six Siege when I played it, and this just has no character to it. It's really weird.
Yeah.
David, what game have you been playing?
So I had to go back because of the fact of my time has been completely taken up by a game I can't really talk about. So we had to dig back in the arsenal of games that I have played and that I haven't really got to talk about on here. And Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah, what a game. What a game.
All right, my 3 words are original soundtrack, beautiful, and out of this world. Noah?
Mine are psychedelic, huge surprise, and MCU.
All very good. I have to go with original soundtrack.
Oh, finally.
Because that soundtrack is just playing that game for you could play that game for the soundtrack just as much as for the game itself. It's such a major part. That's probably the biggest thing that's one of the things they do so right in the game is if anybody was worried that they would take it and just make a generic like action game, they didn't necessarily with the combat make it too over the top or whatnot. But taking the story and especially infusing the soundtrack into it is what makes this game so good. You expect, being the Guardians of the Galaxy, you expect after what we know of them that the soundtrack should be a huge part of what's going on. And they made it almost bigger than what you expected it to be. Because it would have been really easy to just be this throwaway, licensed piece of garbage. But they took the time to put care into it, to put an original story into it. All the characters are incredible. Their interactions, the whole feeling of that whole Guardians becoming a family of these bunch of misfits working together kind of thing. It's perfect with it, and the soundtrack takes that and just boosts it even more. So it may not be the best combat you've played in the world. They do a decent enough job so that it doesn't hold the game back, more or less. But man, the story is so flipping good.
That's a perfect example of where something that may not be as good, when it's combined with everything else, it's fine. It's serviceable. It works. Rainbow Six Extraction does not have that.
People forget that you can have an aspect of a game carry the game. Like, even to being way better than it should be, and like even scoring great, there can be aspects of a game that suck. Or be serviceable, and yet the game still be incredible because certain aspects are just amazing. Oh yeah.
Modern Warfare 2, the original, is my favorite Call of Duty because it's as bombastic as all the other ones have been, but man, the music sends it to the top. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that menu, man. That menu.
The menu, particularly the Whiskey Hotel level. Oh my gosh. That level is iconic because of that music. And man, that music, you got good music. It just sends everything to the top.
Yep. I remember that first trailer for Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, yeah.
With the and man, the stage is set.
Yes. All right. That's it for us. Appreciate you listening or watching. This is the Part Timers Podcast. We will talk to you next week.